Hey there, everyone. My name's Adam Mitchell, and I want to welcome you to the first episode of Matt Chat, where I do a deep dive into the events and topics taught at my martial arts school each night. And I hope to be hitting you with this podcast a couple times a week. We have classes, we host classes at our martial arts school 3 days out of the week, and it's my goal to be able to get as much information to yourself, the listener, my students, or anybody else who has an interest in the topics and the content that's taught. So I want to jump right into last night's class and share with you the topic that we spoke about, and usually a lot of the stuff and how I teach is centered around the topics that I start off with to the children, and then I kind of carry that same sentiment throughout the class into the evening class. So, for example, right now we started a whole new course with the kids where after they do their warm-up and they do their training and they get going, and then after about 15 minutes of rolls and falls and striking drills and exercises, we'll do kind of a quick mat chat, and we'll talk about some specific life lessons, but I don't really make it a sort of a motivational speak per se. I actually tie in sort of the warrior culture, especially the warrior culture as it relates to the martial art that they're studying. So we will do sections of this at a time, and in this particular class, what we worked on and what we began were the tenets of Bushido as written by Nitobe in Bushido, the Soul of Japan. So the first of these tenets is gi, or the principle of rectitude and justice. Now, one of the first things that I teach to young students when they come into the dojo, and I actually also teach this to the adult students, is that martial arts, or especially the traditional martial arts, and not so much the competitive martial arts, but I do feel that in some competitive martial arts that hold on to a strong core value, rather than just being a fighting system, a system for combat, but an actual warrior cultured art, that in many ways the core values of that specific art begins with the fundamental difference of right and wrong, or being able to understand and identify the fundamental differences between what is truly right and what is truly wrong. Because with that as a baseline, that's where you move from as you begin to study and sort of comprehend and immerse yourself into the challenges and the rigors of pure and true martial art training. And for the young students, that's a really important thing, and I think it aligns very well with Nitobe and the word gi, or rectitude, and being able to see right and wrong for what it is. Now, for young people, I think this is a really important thing because all too many times they get caught up or they get influenced by adults. And as you know, adults are oftentimes too much emotion-driven when it comes down to their core values, whether it be political, whether it be faith-based, it doesn't make a difference. But oftentimes this can be quite skewed, and I know you can't disagree with me, but when we talk about the values that I want the young students in my dojo to understand, I want them to truly be able to look at things outside of the emotional component, and be able to look at things as, is this right? And if it is, that is the path. Is this wrong? And if it is wrong, then I need to be able to determine why it's wrong. And I need to be able to see if I can find the solutions for that problem if need be. Otherwise, it is the righteous path, which I will walk towards and I will fight for. And this is truly, truly important. Now, there's a lot of other tenets after that first one. So once the student comes into the dojo, that's really what I begin working on in getting them to understand. Now, yeah, of course, there's all the different techniques, but that doesn't make a difference. That's somewhat, in many ways, quite superficial for me, especially as a parent. But I've been teaching now doing this for 20 years, and I feel that that is truly the most important component that they have to understand, because they have to understand, why are they here? Why are they doing this? Why does my mom and dad, if for the children, why does my mom and dad want me doing this? And all the ways up into the adults and the adult level. Why are they making this conscious choice to commit a certain amount of their time and their day and their life and their health, even their well-being, to this pursuit? Oftentimes it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. So it's really important that I give a clear definition and a clear understanding as to what the value of this time and this investment is. And the very, very first step into understanding that value with absolute clarity is gi, and understanding the difference between right and wrong, being able to understand that you are increasing the amount of strength and fitness that you hold in justice, in what's right and wrong. So this is really important, and we went into talking about a couple of different examples that I really want to share with you, and how Nitobe in his writing goes on to talk about that justice, being able to understand that right and wrong, was the equivalent to the warrior's skeleton, or their skeletal structure, that without that sense, they would just collapse into their own feet, that they couldn't stand, they wouldn't have a spine. But their sense of justice is what gave them the framework that everything stood upon, that everything was held up by, that gripped their weapon, that bore their armor. And without that justice properly in place, or sometimes we see things that are right and wrong, and if something's wrong, this one's okay, or we sometimes get selective. But for the warrior and for the martial artist and for the tenets of the Bushido, as I was teaching it to these children and as I want my students to understand, there is never a compromise, nor should there be. So this is a really kind of important thing. And then one of the things that we spoke about, and one of the challenges that I gave to the class at that time, was asking them the question, is feeling sorry for someone right or wrong? Let me say that again. Is feeling bad or feeling sorry, I feel sorry for you, I feel bad for you, is this right or is this wrong? Now, mind you, I'm asking this to a group of children between the ages of 7 and 12 years old. And I can share with you that their answers, like they always do, completely amaze me. When I ask these questions to my adult students, and I don't get into motivational talks, and I don't do that as an instructor. My students are there to study and understand martial arts. But I do think that understanding the value of gi and understanding that baseline of why they're training in martial arts is truly important too. So I will pose them with these challenges and these questions. But is feeling sorry for someone, is it fundamentally right or wrong? I'm really interested to hear what your answer is to this. And if you're a martial arts instructor, if you're a coach, if you're a trainer, if you're a teacher, I'd love to hear your input and your insight. So that's it. This is the first episode of Mat Chat. I really hope you enjoyed it. These aren't going to be long, deep discussions, and I don't want to take up too much of your valuable time, but I do want to share with you the value and the experiences and the insights that I have from my martial arts training experience, the value that I get from my amazing students, and I love to share. So I look forward to seeing you on the next episode, where we take that next step into the next and the second tenet of Bushido as Nitobe gave to us. Thank you.